Hey everyone, it's your man, Namdi Eziabikwa, and today we're talking about something that can feel like a monumental task. Saving your first $10,000. I know, when you're grinding away at a low-income job, or pouring your heart into a side hustle that's just getting off the ground, that number can seem like a distant dream, like trying to scale Mount Everest in your sneakers. It's tough, no doubt about it. You see the bills pile up, the unexpected expenses pop out of nowhere. And you wonder, how am I ever going to get ahead? How can I build a cushion, let alone a foundation for something bigger? But let me ask you this. What if I told you that one of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, a guy you see making deals and spotting talent on Shark Tank, started his journey in a place very similar to where you might be right now? He wasn't born with a silver spoon. He was sewing hats, literally, in his mom's house in Hollis, Queens, working a full-time job at Red Lobster just to make ends meet. And yet, through sheer determination and smart financial moves, he managed to scrape together his first $10,000. That man is Daymond John, the founder of FUBU, and his story is a testament to what's possible. This isn't just a feel-good story, it's a practical blueprint. It's about the raw grit it takes to turn pennies into dollars, the sacrifices you have to make when no one else understands your vision, and the smart, sometimes tough choices that separate those who dream from those who achieve. Daymond's journey proves that your first $10,000 isn't just a possibility, it's a reachable milestone, regardless of your starting point. So, whether you're dreaming of launching your own empire, desperately trying to dig yourself out of debt, or simply yearning to take firm control of your financial future, stick around. This story is for you, and it's packed with inspiration and actionable insights. Alright, let's dive into how this all began. You hear start small, and it sounds simple, right? But what does it really mean? For me, Daymond John, it meant looking around at what I had, not what I didn't. I saw a need in my community in Queens. Hip-hop culture was exploding, but the big brands weren't speaking our language. They weren't making clothes. So I didn't wait for some massive investment or a grand business plan handed to me on a silver platter. I saw an opportunity with something as simple as a hat. A wool ski hat with the top sewn off. That was the beginning. I bought some fabric, learned to sew from my mom, and started making them one by one in her living room. My first office was my childhood bedroom. My first employees were me, myself and I, and later my neighborhood friends. The key here is action. Don't get paralyzed by the idea that you need everything to be perfect before you start. You don't need a fancy degree or a huge loan to sell your first product or offer your first service. What skill do you have? Can you bake? Can you fix things? Can you write? Can you design? Whatever it is, there's a way to monetize it. I started by selling those hats on the street corners of Queens, outside concert venues, wherever people were. It wasn't glamorous. I faced rejection. Some days I sold a lot, other days, not so much. But every sale, every conversation was a lesson. It was market research in real time. It was building a brand from the ground up, one customer at a time. You have to create your own small opportunities before the big ones even sniff you out. Think about it. What's your hat? What's that one thing you can create, offer, or do, even on a micro scale, to start generating some income? Maybe it's freelancing online, offering a local service like dog walking or tutoring, or creating handmade goods to sell at local markets or online. That initial hustle, that first step into entrepreneurship, no matter how small it seems, is crucial. It's not just about the money you make, though that's important. It's about building momentum, learning the ropes of business, and proving to yourself that you can create value. That's where the journey to your first $10,000 truly begins, with that first dollar earned from your own initiative. Now, making a little money from your hustle is one thing, but especially when you're aiming for a big goal like $10,000, is a whole different ballgame. This is where sacrifice comes in, and trust me, I know a thing or two about that. While I was trying to get FUBU off the ground, I was still working a full-time job at Red Lobster. That wasn't a side gig, that was my main source of income, the money that paid the bills and, crucially, funded the early stages of my clothing line. I'd work all day at Red Lobster, then come home and sew hats, or go out and try to sell them, often late into the night. Sleep? That was a luxury I often couldn't afford. Living with my mom wasn't just a convenience, it was a strategic financial decision. It drastically cut down my living expenses. Rent, utilities, groceries, those are major drains on your income when you're trying to save. By minimizing those fixed costs, I had more capital to reinvest into FUBU and more room to save. It meant putting my pride aside. It meant not having the cool apartment my friends might have had. But I had a bigger vision. I understood that short-term sacrifices could lead to long-term gains. Every dollar I didn't spend on rent or a fancy meal was a dollar that could go towards fabric, marketing, or simply building that crucial $10,000 safety net. So, take a hard look at your expenses. Where is your money going? Do you need that daily fancy coffee? Can you meal prep instead of eating out? Are there subscriptions you're paying for that you barely use? Cancel them. Downgrade your phone plan if you can. Delay buying that new car or those designer clothes. I'm not saying live like a monk forever, but when you're on a mission to save your first $10,000, every single dollar counts. It's about making conscious choices, distinguishing between needs and wants, and understanding that the temporary discomfort of cutting back is an investment in your future freedom and success. It's about being disciplined enough to say no to instant gratification so you can say yes to your bigger goals. Chapter 3. Okay, so you're hustling, you're making some money, and you're cutting back on expenses. You start to see your savings grow. Maybe you hit your first $1,000, then $2,000. The temptation can be huge to go out and reward yourself with something flashy, something you've been denying yourself. You think, I've worked hard, I deserve this. And while a small reward isn't always bad, when you're building towards that first $10,000, especially if it's seed money for a business, your mindset needs to shift from splurging to strategic reinvestment. Every dollar FUBU made in the early days didn't go into my pocket for a new pair of sneakers or a night out. It went right back into the business. More fabric, better sewing machines, traveling to trade shows, even if it meant sleeping on floors, marketing materials however basic they were at first. That's where the money went. If we made $1,000, we weren't looking at how to spend $1,000 on ourselves. We were figuring out how to turn that $1,000 into $2,000 or $5,000 by putting it back into the engine of the business. This is a critical lesson. Your early earnings are like seeds. You can eat the seeds or you can plant them to grow an entire harvest. I chose to plant them. It's about delayed gratification on a larger scale. It's about understanding that the money you earn is a tool to build something bigger, not just a means to acquire more stuff. Think of it this way. Spending to impress people you don't even know with things you don't really need is a fast track to staying broke. Spending to grow your income, your business, or your skill set is an investment that pays dividends down the line. When I finally had a little extra, I didn't buy a fancy car. I bought more inventory. I invested in opportunities to get FUBU in front of more people. That $10,000 I was saving, it wasn't just a number, it was my war chest. It was the capital that would allow me to take bigger risks, to scale up production, and to eventually turn FUBU from a neighborhood hustle into a global brand. So, when you get that extra cash, ask yourself, how can this money make me more money? That's the mindset of an entrepreneur. Chapter 4. Now let's talk about the engine that drives all of this consistency. You can have a great idea, you can make sacrifices, you can even understand the importance of reinvestment, but if you're not consistent, none of it will stick. Saving your first $10,000 or building a business from scratch isn't about one heroic effort or a sudden windfall of cash. It's about the small, disciplined actions you take day in and day out, week after week, month after month, even when you don't feel like it, even when progress feels painfully slow. It's more about discipline than the size of your income. I remember those early days with FUBU, working at Red Lobster from morning till afternoon, then rushing home to sew, package, and ship orders, or hitting the streets to sell. There were countless times I was exhausted, countless times I felt like giving up. It would have been so easy to skip a night of sewing or to not push myself to make those extra sales calls. But I knew that every skipped day, every missed opportunity was a step backward. Consistency built momentum. Every hat sold, every dollar saved was a small victory that fueled the next one. It wasn't about how much I saved in one go. It was about the habit of saving. The habit of working on my business every single day. This principle applies directly to saving money. It's not about saving a huge chunk once in a blue moon. It's about consistently putting aside a portion of your income, no matter how small, every time you get paid. Maybe it's $20, maybe it's $50, maybe it's $100. The amount is less important than the act of doing it regularly. Automate your savings if you can, so it happens without you even thinking about it. Build that muscle of financial discipline. Over time, those small, consistent deposits add up. The numbers will follow the habit. Just like building a brand, building your savings requires showing up consistently, even when you don't see immediate, dramatic results. That relentless, steady effort is what separates those who reach their goals from those who just dream about them. Chapter 5. So, you've hustled, you've sacrificed, you've reinvested, and you've been incredibly consistent. And then one day, you hit it, your first $10,000 saved. That's a massive accomplishment, a real milestone. The temptation might be to breathe a huge sigh of relief and think, okay, I can relax now, maybe spend a little. And you absolutely should celebrate that achievement. But it's crucial to understand what that $10,000 really represents, especially if you're an aspiring entrepreneur like I was. It's not just play money or a fund for a big vacation, it's your foundation. It's your launch pad. It's the first serious capital you have to make strategic moves. For me, that initial capital, built up through years of grinding at Red Lobster and hustling FUBU hats, was everything. It wasn't just about having $10,000 in the bank, it was about what that money enabled me to do. It allowed me to buy larger quantities of fabric at better prices. It allowed me to take bigger risks with designs and inventory. It gave me the leverage to approach manufacturers and eventually secure a distribution deal. Without that financial cushion, without that seed capital, FUBU might have remained a small local operation. That $10,000 was the key that unlocked the next level of growth. It was the difference between a hobby and a serious business venture. So, when you reach that first $10,000, think long-term. How can this money work for you to achieve even bigger goals? If you're building a business, this is your seed fund for expansion, marketing, or product development. If you're focused on personal finance, this could be the start of your emergency fund, a down payment on an asset, or the beginning of your investment portfolio. Don't let it sit idle, and definitely don't fritter it away. Use it wisely, strategically, just like I did with FUBU. That first $10,000 isn't the end goal. It's the beginning of your financial empowerment, the cornerstone upon which you can build something truly lasting and impactful. So there you have it, a glimpse into my journey, the real story of how I scraped and saved my way to that first critical $10,000. And let me be clear, I didn't have a trust fund waiting for me. My mom was amazing, but we weren't wealthy. I didn't go to some fancy business school to learn the theories. I learned them on the streets, in the trenches, making mistakes and learning from them every single day. I didn't have a Rolodex full of powerful connections to open doors for me. I had to knock on those doors myself, and when they didn't open, I had to find a window or build my own door. What I did have was a clear vision of what I wanted to build with FUBU. I had an unstoppable hustle, a willingness to outwork anyone, and crucially, I developed financial discipline. I understood that every dollar I earned and saved was a step closer to my dream. If a kid from Queens, working tables at Red Lobster and sewing hats in his mom's house, could figure out how to save $10,000 and lay the groundwork for a multi-million-dollar company, then believe me, so can you. Your circumstances might be different, your challenge is unique, but the principles remain the same. Let my story be a reminder, a spark for your own journey. Start where you are right now, not where you wish you were. Use what you have, your skills, your time, your unique perspective. Don't wait for perfect conditions or resources. And most importantly, do what you can, every single day. That first $10,000 is often the hardest mountain to climb, no doubt. But reaching that summit, building that foundation through your own effort and discipline, is also the most powerful step you can take towards financial freedom and building the life you truly want. The power is in your hands. Now go get it.